Live from Las Vegas, broadcasting around the world. You're listening to Up is Higher Than Down with L.A. Walker, a podcast filled with raw and unfiltered conversations on how to give life's challenges the finger. Truth is your passport to emotional freedom. Give an eviction notice to negativity. Dump yesterday's garbage. Learn how to be positive, energized, healthy, and alive during these insanely unpredictable times. Look up, get up, stay up, then help somebody else to get up. Remember, any part of Up is higher than down. Now on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, broadcasting hope to the world, this is L.A. Walker.
Hi, everybody. Once again, we've been given this marvelous gift of life, and I don't care how bleak the news is. I don't give a dang about the COVID-19 and the political garbage that's going on. We've been given this marvelous gift of life, and our job is to live it. And I am on my job because living is the best job I've ever had. You know, the reality of it is, no matter how things are, we still want to enjoy our lives. We don't want to just survive. We want to succeed. Success is like an airplane. It flies high. And when we get down in our spirits, success flies right over our heads. We can't grasp it. Even if success were to come and knock at our individual doors, you still got to get up and go and answer the door. I have a guest today that's going to confirm exactly what I said. Hey, success is not always convenient. You have to want it, you have to prepare for it, and then you have to receive it. My guest today is Tony Briggs, known as Tamechi. Tony Briggs Tamechi is responsible for the hammer pants and all of those wonderful outfits that you've seen through the years on Soul Train. So when did you introduce and how did you introduce the pants to MC Hammer?
Well, what happened is they were desperately trying to find an image for him. Hammer had completed the album, but they didn't have an image for him. That's why when you look at the album cover, he has on a suit. That particular album cover, Hammer just has a suit on. And what ended up happening is they ended up seeing my roommate, Nancy Fletcher, and one of my really dear friends named Sylvia Thomas. Nancy is a singer that she sings with. She's the voice of Death Row. She sang with Dr. Dre, Snoop. She's on the song Keep Your Heads Are Ringing. She sang with Tupac, all of them. She's a beautiful, beautiful, her voice is just amazing. So she used to sing with a reggae band. We all lived together. So every night Nancy wanted another outfit. And they always insisted of the baggy pants. So Sylvia and the Soul Brothers, and they were all really close. So they were at the club that night, at the reggae club. And they saw them in the outfits. They was like, yo, them pants is dope. You know, what you guys are wearing, where y'all get them from? And they were like, Tamechi made these. They was like, what? They was like, oh, y'all gotta let Tamechi know we want some of those pants. And so they ended up calling me, and I ended up making them some. They were at the time dancing with a rapper named Def Jam. So it was really weird because when I ended up making them for the guys, they ended up giving Hammer and them my number. Well, they ended up losing the number, but they knew that they wanted those style of pants. So they ended up coming to Soul Train and seeing one of the Soul Train dancers in one of my outfits, and they inquired to have her designer's number, which was myself, and they wanted me to actually do some clothes for 357, who was the female background dancer. But they didn't realize that this is the designer of the phone number that they had previously lost a couple of months before. So when Jonathan Mosley, who worked for the company at the time, just happened to be he was happened to be at Candy's house. Candy is one of the members of the Mary Jane Girl. Candy picked up the phone and called me. And she said, Tamechi, she said, Hammer's people is looking for you. I'm like, Hammer's people? And she said, the rapper. And then I was like, she said, they want you to do some posts. I was like, oh, the guy. I remember hearing about him selling his CDs up the trunk of the car. So I was like, oh, okay, fine. Put me in touch. And then she put Jonathan on the phone. And we talked and we set up a meeting. And when we set up the meeting, girl, let me tell you, when we set up the meeting, we were supposed to meet them at Magic Mountain. So they were looking for another girl to be a third member of Old Town Street 57. So they were inquiring about a friend of mine named Mia Bell. And so Mia is an actress, singer, and she was in the movie Boys in the Hood.
Okay.
And so Mia and I got in her car, and it was a really bittersweet time because we were excited about that, but Mia had just lost her boyfriend in a tragic accident coming from, where were they coming from? Ohio. So what ended up happening, they were in an area where it was just like desert area, and I think the car ended up flipping over. Anyway, he ended up dying in the accident, and it was only Mia out there in the dark, late at night, and some nurse, I guess, was going to work, and came over and helped her.
Wow.
But, of course, the boyfriend was gone, and so she was dealing with that mentally.
Sure.
So when we got ready to go out to meet Hammer, I said, do you want me to drive? And she said, no, I'll drive. I got it. But I could tell her focus just was not there. She had a lot on her mind. I said, no, I'll drive. She's like, no, I'll drive. I said, Mia, I'm telling you, I'll drive. She wanted to drive. She did. And I just wasn't comfortable with it. So anyway, we ended up going out to Magic Mountain. We never made it because we actually made a wrong turn. And then I said, well, Mia, I think it's on the other side of the freeway. We ended up making a U-turn to go back. And as we made a U-turn, I don't know what happened. She completely lost control of everything. And we went off a cliff.
Oh, my gosh.
The car, we went off a cliff, and the car, and it was nothing but the grace of God because I had just taken off my seatbelt to reach in the back seat to get a snack. And we were in a convertible. The car had no gas. So as we floated off the cliff, and I know it had to be at least 100, 150 feet down.
Oh, I got a pit in my stomach just listening.
It was the worst. And so I braced my back up against the chair and my feet up against the floor, just knowing that this is it. And as we floated in the air, I couldn't even, I looked at her for a second and then I could tell that she was having flashbacks. We were floating, the car was just floating in the air. And as it hit the embankment at the bottom, the only thing that saved us was a couple of days before it had been raining. So instead of it being dry dirt where the car probably would have bounced and flipped, it was wet and muddy.
Oh,
so
wow.
when we hit the bottom or the embankment, the car just stuck and it just went clunk like that. And so, oh my stars, so we just looked at each other and jumped out and the car started smoking. And we started running up the hill, and before we took off up the hill, I turned the car off. And then you see all these people at the top of the cliff looking down that had ran over, saw us go. So we're running up the top of the hill trying to get away before the car explodes.
Sure.
We're thinking the car explode at any minute. And so, of course, that day we never did get the chance to meet him. We ended up meeting them, I think, 2 or 3 shows later at the Coliseum. And it was the worst nightmare ever. Now, it was really strange because at the Coliseum, a riot broke out. A riot broke out. It was horrible. It was it was one of those sets where those Budweiser super fast. I don't know if that was it, but it was one of those type of shows where a lot of rap artists was performing.
Girl.
And somebody came on. I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was Snoop or who, but somebody came on, and when that happened, honey, it was just horrible. Fights just broke out everywhere.
Oh.
So what ended up happening is we did get to meet him that day, and I started doing clothes for the girls, and then he was so captivated at how fabulous their pants look, and that was a look that they wanted, that he ended up having me to do stuff for him and took me away from that. Not knowing until years later that I was the designer that they were looking for before they even went to Soul Train.
Oh, wow.
And I said, I tell you what, give me a week and I'll send you a trial and we can go from there. And what I did was I went and got some turquoise blue lame material from International Silk and Woolen in Beverly Hills, and I made a turquoise blue jacket with the baggy pants, and I sent it to Busted, which was the production company. And next thing you know, they were calling me saying, "Okay, we're ready for you to fly over to Oakland so you can work with Hammer." So they ended up flying me over, and the rest is history. I started just sewing away, making all kinds of outfits for him, and they were getting ready to do the videos, but You Can't Touch This, and Dancing Machine, and there was a couple other videos that ended up doing. Hammer was doing this little miniature type movie thing called Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him. And I think it was a lot of videos they did all at once. And so I did a lot of the outfits for that, especially the ones for him, and then I did some of the dancers. So after I sent that one outfit, it just kicked everything off. What's so amazing about that one outfit is it was recently shown on Dancing with the Stars when Nelly was telling his dance partner about the 80s. And when he did, they flashed my outfit on the screen.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah, and I was like, I cannot believe it. But you know what was really impressive about that whole thing is one day I was sitting and I was looking at, I think it was Entertainment Tonight, and they had the guy on the show that created the Aladdin, and they asked him about, the characters on for Aladdin, and he said, they asked him how did he come up with the character, and he said that he mentioned Hammer in the pants.
Mm.
He did, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because now those pants, I used to wear them back when I was in high school in North Carolina. I used to wear them to school all the time, and they used to laugh at first, because it was really different. I used to have them in bright colors and everything, and so I remember them calling me to the office because they were saying my dress code was too outlandish, and it was causing interruptions in the classroom. So they was asking me, and the principal was like, I can't tell you how to dress, but I can just only ask you, can you tone it down a little bit for me? And, it was really weird because about 10 years later, I just happened to be in the grocery store and I see the principal. And he calls me over and said, "Hey," he said, "are you still living in Los Angeles?" I said, "Yeah, I am." And then he said, "How long have you been in town?" I said, "Well, only for a couple of days." And he said, "Well, it's nice to see you." And then he said, "Oh, yeah, my wife is over on the other side shopping." He said, "I would love for her to, to see you." And I said, "Okay, I would love to see her." And then he said, that they watch me on Soul Train from time to time dancing on the show. And then he said, "Oh, yeah, I wanted to tell you, there's this rapper guy, and he reminds me of you the way he dresses." He said, "He has those kind of big baggy pants like you used to wear to school all the time." And I said, "Are you talking about MC Hammer?" He said, "Yeah, that's his name." I said, "Well," I said, "I'm the one that's dressing him." He's like, Gotta be kidding me.
Oh,
I said,
that's
no.
awesome.
And he was like, oh, you got to, come on. He's like, my wife got to see. You got to tell her this because we were watching him on TV, and I said to her, wow, that rapper's clothes really reminds me of Tony Briggs, the way that I dressed in school. And so I was really blown away, and it really made me feel good that he got a chance to see that because he was the one that told me, that, I can't tell you, how to dress, but, Tony down. And he did say, even when I was in school, he said, but, I kind of like, your style. I think it's unique, so I was so happy that
That's great.
I got a chance to give him that confirmation.
That's a great story. That is super. So Soul Train came first, and then Hammer Pants.
Yeah, because what ended up happening is I was making clothes for the Soul Train dancers, and so when I made the pants, I was trying to come up with something to send one of the dancers. His name is Myron Montgomery. Myron used to pass my clothes out to the dancers. So I was making clothes to send Myron, and that's why I was trying to put the pants together. Oh. And so when I was in a dance group as well, so we needed costumes. So I figured, if these things worked, I could send clothes, send them to Soul Train, and we could have costumes. Because a lot of times I would take pictures on what we wear and would send over to Myron when I was sending him clothes. And at first, I started out sending them clothes that I would alter. I would find old stuff and make it and new and do it, flip it and give it a whole nother look. So when I started making full-out outfits and sending them, I ended up sending those pants. And they ended up wearing them on the show. And I was like so surreal when I saw them. And I was using curtains, material that my mother's curtains. Because the first ones I made, they were made of curtains. So I would just go buy old curtains to sew with.
Right.
And at the thrift stores and sheets and pillowcases and towels, anything I could find.
Wow.
And the very first dress I made was a dress that I had that I paired with those pants when we did shows. And they were just really full baggy dresses and skirts. And so they looked like the pants. I wanted to have the models to match. So Frederick Eaton, who was my leading male model, would wear the baggy pants, and I would have either Francine Fox or Liz Barnes to wear the baggy dresses. And so they were like balloon dresses and balloon pants, and it went together. It was just so cute. So I ended up sending those particular outfits to Soul Train, and then when I saw the dancers wearing the clothes, I ended up sending them on a regular. And that's how the whole Soul Train, the whole designing for Soul Train came about for me, because I ended up sending clothes to the dancers just to wear on the show. I mean, I would go rake leaves, sell bottles, pick cucumbers, any little money hustle I can get to get fabric to make them outfits for those dancers.
And girl, let me tell you this. I have gone back and watched, I don't know how many of the Soul Train videos, just so I could, I was talking to Sheila, Diva Sheila, as well. And I wanted to get back into that mode because I loved Soul Train. And I looked at your outfits, and any of them could be worn today. They are so timeless. They are beautiful.
Well, thank you so much, because, it's amazing you said that. It really makes me feel great, because when I was designing for Soul Train, I never, ever followed a trend. I was always just trying to create items that actually went with the personality of the girls and the guys that I was designing them for. And I would just try to come up with stuff that was unique and give each dancer their own individual look. And so, it was so amazing and a blessing for me that these girls had these amazing bodies, and the guys was all in shape, and everybody was just fierce. And it worked for me too, because they all had curves. Although some of them were slender, they had curves.
Okay.
And so that prepared me to sew for women of all sizes. And so it was, and what was also so incredible about that whole journey with Soul Train is because the dancers allowed me to freelance and do whatever I wanted to do. And, you know, I'm just so thrilled that you were able to see that the art is timeless, because I often post things on my Instagram page. I have a page that's designated just to old Soul Train clippings of my garments. And I look at them, I'm like, wow. And I do see today a lot of fashions that could easily have been influenced by my designs, because I do know a lot of designers look to Soul Train to see what the urban kids are wearing.
Absolutely, they did. And you know what? You remind me of the artist Erte. Are you familiar with Erte? E-R-T-E. And it's okay if you're not. But
I'm not.
But
I've heard the name, though. That's why I got quiet, because I have heard the name.
Please visit Erte for additional inspiration, because your creations are so similar in energy, not necessarily the styling. You know what I'm saying? The designs are different, but the energy is there. You need to take a look at that. I mean, very famous designer.
Definitely.
Very famous artist designer.
Definitely what I'm going to do.
Yeah, please do that.
You know what I wanted to mention, too, is that I recently got a confirmation from the curator at the Smithsonian Museum that I have some of my clothes from Soul Train that are going to be in the African American Smithsonian.
Oh, my gosh, that's great.
Yes, I'm so excited about that. So if you get a chance, I'll be putting on my page once the display goes up. But if you get a chance to go and you're in D.C. once everything opens back up, that would be wonderful if you get a chance to go.
Oh, I'm going to make an effort to do that. I would love to do that, actually, and congratulations. So let's talk. Let's roll up the sleeves here and let's really talk. Tamechi, before you tell it all, let me take a break for a minute and we'll be right back.
Hi guys, this is Tin. Listen, I don't know if you have been able to make your way over to lawalker.life on Facebook, but if you haven't, do yourself a favor, run over there and just read the snippets of her new book. She's writing a new book, and it is titled Seeing Beyond the Mess. It grabs your attention. All of us have mess. All of us have mess, whether we were born in the mess, as she says, whether we were born in the mess or whether it's handcrafted mess. But there's life beyond that mess. We sometimes create our own mess. And just from reading the little snippets that I read, she exposed all of that. Just in those little bitty passages, she exposed a lot of that. A lot of that stuff she was born into. Some of that stuff she could not control. Some of those things she created on her own. She exposed the mess. Whenever you have time, just run over there and check it out. Let's start seeing beyond the mess.
You're listening to Up is Higher Than Down with L.A. Walker.
So, back in the day, during Soul Train, you were known as Tony Briggs.
Yes.
When did you become Tamechi?
Okay. Tamechi came about, there was an alter ego named Frederick. My best friend was Felicia. And so I was Tamechi. And it almost started out as Tamika, but then the pronunciation got mixed up and it became Tamechi. And that happened for me when I did my video Shake a Poke Chop. What happened is I just wanted to be, found myself more Tamechi than Tony. And I was like, I'm going to be the best me that I can be. And I said, and I like how it feels when I'm Tamechi. And I love how, I admire how it feels when I'm Tony. But for my journey and what I want to do and who I am, I'm going to let Tamechi lead the way. And Tony will always follow. So you'll notice on my Facebook page is Tamechi Tony Briggs. And I don't get offended when people say Tony, because it can be Y or I.
Right.
I've learned to embrace myself at a young age to just accept every aspect of me. So
I love that.
And Tony is a part of Tamechi. So Tamechi, I wanted something, and then I was working with kids as well. So I wanted something neutral where my kids would be able to not be so confused about what was going on with me as an individual, because I wanted to be able to teach them about not just the art, but about love and acceptance in it. And I was able to do that through just being Tamechi. And in the class that I teach, the kids love coming to my class. I have to actually run the kids out of my class.
I understand that.
It's a summer program that I teach at called the Tyler Project, and it runs in the summertime. And you know, at first it used to be a little apprehensive for the fathers to allow their kids to be in my class, because it's a design class, and you know, sometimes it's a stereotype of with design and fashion
Sure.
and modeling and all the stuff like that. But once they allow their son to come to one class, they're more into it than most of the girls are. They love the aspect of handling the sewing machine and getting the fabric and turning a T-shirt into a fabulous tie-dye. So the whole Tamechi thing came about because I wanted to be true to who I am all across the board.
Got it. I like that very much. And there's something that you said that was very compelling. You don't denounce yourself. Tony is a part of you. That's how Tamechi came to be. But,
Exactly.
But a lot of people that are searching for their identity, that are labeling themselves as trans, do denounce that. And I can see the struggle with that, you know. I think when I talked to you a couple of days ago, I asked you about this transitioning piece, and you said you were evolving. You didn't really, you know, transition. And I thought that was spectacular, because that makes so much sense. We can be whomever we need to be whenever we need to be that. And so, you know, we don't have to be one certain thing forever, or disassociate ourselves from what we once were. We can be happy. We can just be happy. You know, evolving.
No, you're right. And I, you know, the thing is, I've always been who I am ever since I've known myself.
I love it.
I mean, I've always been the same person.
Me too, girl.
I mean, and I just evolved. My flower just blossomed. And in so many seasons, you know, like I might, you know, the flower might fold and come back out the next season. It may be like this, and the next season it may be like that. But I'm always me, and I've always been this person. That the skin that I'm in, I've always been this individual. Ever since I've known myself, I've never known myself to be something else. And even when I went to Soul Train, I noticed that Soul Train wanted me in a different aspect. They wanted me, because at the time when I went to Soul Train,
gosh, right? They wanted you to man up.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, honey, I ain't. I said, first of all, I've never been in the closet, and I damn sure ain't gonna go in one. So I was like,
stop.
I'm gonna be me. So
I get it.
I had to be myself. And so I noticed that my cousin was like, listen, because when I first came, they didn't let me in. And he told me, listen, you got to do this. You know, you got to start wearing a tie, this and that, because they're trying to have more guys on to show that you don't have to be a certain way to love dancing. And I thought that was beautiful.
Right.
Because I've always felt that way too. But at the same time, I was like, well, okay, but I want to be me. And show that I can dance and have fun as well.
Right.
So no one ever said that to me per se, but that's what I felt. Because when I dressed up in like jackets and ties and stuff, I noticed I was able to do more.
Okay. Okay.
But I couldn't continue to see myself not how I felt like I am. And I couldn't continue to just paint myself on a canvas not like I wanted to be.
No, and you would not have been able to continue creating the fascinating clothing that you created if you put those types of restrictions on your mind and your spirit. You wouldn't have had the energy to move forward with that. Tell me about your music. So I went on YouTube and I danced and laughed so hard at pork chops. Oh my word. How in the world did you come up with that?
Well, it's amazing. I'm so glad that you got a chance to see Pork Chop because when I did the record, actually Pork Chop was a comforting song for me. I had just broken up with my boyfriend that I was so in love with. I mean, all my stars. I was just so in love with this guy, and we had been together for about four and a half years. And something happened where it just didn't work. And I saw him in the car with someone,
Ooh.
and I followed him. And when I
Yikes.
followed them, I found myself doing some stuff that I normally wouldn't do. I was like, wait a minute, this is crazy. What are you doing?
Right?
Are you insane? Are you really? You got to be kidding me, right?
Yeah, love will make you do some dumb stuff.
I was like, take your ass home. And I was like, what are you doing? I said, you're going to cry, go home and cry and get it over with. So I went to the house and I tried to push some tears out and I couldn't cry. And I was like, I'm not going to cry. I was like, I'm a big girl. I ain't going to cry over this. I was like, I'm the prize. I was like,
right,
honey,
now.
he's losing out. I'm fierce, honey. I'm fabulous. So I laid on the couch and I was trying to go to sleep and I could not go to sleep. And this producer, a friend of mine, sent me some tracks to write to because I had been writing and doing music. I just hadn't released any of them. And so I was like, let me just put on some music. And I didn't want to put on any love songs or radio. So let me just put on some tracks. And so I put the tracks on and I laid down on the sofa and I fell asleep. When I woke up, I heard dun 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 dun, and I was like, just laying there. And I was thinking about home. And I just went, shake your pork chop. Shake your hand, huh? Tell the butter. And I was just laying in the couch, shake your pork chop. And then the song, I fell asleep, it came on again. And I was, shake your pork chop. And I was like, shake your pork. And I jumped up and I called my answering service. And I left that hook on there. When I dove into my music, everything was just amazing. And when I ended up coming to North Carolina for the summer, and when I got home this summer, I said I want to do something positive. I always wanted to do a video with my family and friends back home because this is a way that I can give back.
Right.
So I ended up having an audition. People came out, and they were so excited. And I ended up finding a location, and the people, I set it up like a video shoot that they do in LA somewhere.
Okay.
And when I had craft services, food, a lot of these kids have never experienced anything like that before.
Right.
They had a ball. And before you know it, a lot of people in the city found out where we were taping. We had a full-fledged audience. We had tons and tons of food left, so we started feeding them. And it was just a beautiful time. I wanted that video to resemble what it was like for me growing up in my skin, being the person that I am. That I wanted it to symbolize that we can be different and get along and have fun, and your image or who you are not be an issue or be the topic.
Right.
We're just all loving, fun friends and family, and that's how it was for me growing up in the city I grew up in. So that's what I wanted Pork Chop to symbolize. And the saying came from when, you know, you had your grandma and your aunts and them, they would call you, and they use all kinds of things for nicknames. They might call you hot sauce, they might call you barbecue, they might call you baked. So sometimes you'll be dancing, and they'll be like, shake a pork chop. They'll say that in the place of saying shake your ass. You know what I mean?
Right.
The girl that had the cigarette, and she was sitting on the porch, and what ended up happening, I didn't even know the lady had a cigarette. that was a rehearsal. And I said, listen, I'm going to show y'all what to do. This is what we're going to do. You're going to follow me. I'm going to improvise. I'm going to come out the door, and I'm going to and so we did the whole thing. And when we did it, she jumped up, honey, and started getting it. And I didn't even know this thing had a cigarette, honey. When she was puffing the cigarette and dancing, after we finished, the people were screaming. I was like, we're keeping every bit of that.
All right.
We have to keep that. And so that's how that whole thing came about. And some of the kids that were dancing, they came to the audition, and I let them freestyle. And those kids, they were just so talented and so beautiful. I didn't want it to be overly made up. I wanted everybody to be neutral and
it was good.
fun.
It's good. It's a good piece. It's a good piece.
That's how it came about. That's how Pork Chop came about.
Yeah, that's a fun piece. Listen, I want to ask you, you know, there are a lot of people that are really struggling with their sexuality, and it seems to be really common now that people, when they get into even their 50s and 60s, are allowing themselves to become whomever it is they feel that they are, finally. But there's still a struggle. What would you say to people that are struggling with their identity?
I would say to that individual, love yourself and know how special you are. If they can find a way to know how special they are and how beautiful they are inside and out, that will translate to love. And once they learn to love themselves, then the rest is history. They can then spread their wings and fly. It's all self-love. You got to know that we all are a mass of energy, and, you know, we feed off of one another. So if that energy is a negative energy that you're around and you're inhaling that and you're breathing that and you're inviting that into your spirit, it's going to become you. If the person or surroundings that you are around, they don't accept and don't embrace who you are, you have to separate yourself from that. It may not be forever, because they may come back around and say, you know, I realize just how special you are and how beautiful you are and how amazing you are. And then you can have that relationship again. But for the most part, you have to secure the feeling and the emotional attachment of knowing how special you are to yourself first before you're able to give it out to anybody. You have to find that. And I knew that I was special at an early age. At 4 and 5 and 6 years old, I knew that I was special. So that's why I say all the time that I'm not coming out. I'm just evolving, because I've always been me my whole life. And just find how special they are. And that's the advice that I could give them. And then that way, that will lead to self-love.
Girl, that's fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for sharing your story, which is absolutely incredible.
And I'm always giving away stuff, too, so don't miss out on the goodies.
All right. Well, girl, I thank you so much for being with us. Your story is incredible. We look forward to the new story that you're writing right now. So keep us in mind, too. As soon as this podcast is published, I'll make sure that you have a link. Please share it and invite others to listen.
I will. Thank you so much, and it was wonderful.
All right, honey. Have a great day. Bye.
You do the same. Ta-ta.
Listen to Up is Higher Than Down with L.A. Walker every day. To follow up, make comments, discuss today's podcast, or find out how you can become a guest and share your victory over a negative life event, follow L.A. Walker. Up is Higher Than Down on Facebook. Look up, get up, stay up. Remember, any part of up is higher than down.